San Diego when he brought that team to the Super Bowl. And Ray Rhodes, in his first year, he was a defensive coordinator here back in the early 90s. Jason Hansen kicking off for the Lions. Desmond Howard and Basil Mitchell are back deep. And it's going to be Desmond Howard downing it for the touchback. And the Packers come out to the 20-yard line.
Dick, we talked so much about Brett Favre's thumb. I want you to watch what he's doing. This is the handshake before the game. This is a mistake. You never offer your right throwing hand that's beat up to an offensive lineman. But you learn fast. You see, because when it's over, see what's going out there now? That left hand. He's making sure nobody gets to this one right from the start.
And, of course, it was a Penn State lineman that grabbed his hand first.
Rule number 1, if there's an injury, clamp it as hard as you can. In the way. That's a competitive advantage right there, Harding did.
Noise will be a factor. From the 20-yard line, Favre tries to pass. It's batted down at the line, and it was James Jones, Luther Ellis, both in the middle, batting it down for no gain. The Packer offense. Brett Favre, who has not fared well here at the Silverdome and has thrown 5 more interceptions than touchdowns. Ross Burba has a stomach virus, but is starting nonetheless. Earl Dotson has been the outstanding lineman. Levins and Henderson in the backfield. Freeman and Schrader, the wide receivers. And Mark Chmura, the tight end. Dorsey Levins with his first carry of the game and gets about 9 on the play. And Mark Carrier, the free safety, tripped him up. The Lions defensively. And they've got the big tackles in Ellis and Jones and Robert Forche, who had 3 sacks last week. Rookie Chris Claiborne and Stephen Boyd always around the ball, the linebackers. Fair and Westbrook are the cornerbacks. Carrier and Ron Rice, the safeties. 2 tight ends in there now for the Packers with Tyrone Davis. That's 3rd and 2. And Favre has the first down to Freeman, and he's out of bounds just shy of the 40-yard line and a gain of 11.
Dick, not only is Brett Favre trying to work through that thumb, the coaches, Sherm Lewis, the offensive coordinator, he's also working through that thumb. I think it's important to remember, this is right hand, it's the top hand, it's the hand that takes all the pressure on the snap, every snap. So regardless if he tries to protect it or not, as soon as he puts his hand under the center's rear, he's going to get banged every single play.
First down at the 39. Favre putting it in the air early, overthrows William Henderson.
And
it'll be 2nd down and 10.
To echo the point that I mentioned earlier, I think upstairs, Sherm Lewis, the offensive coordinator, is starting out slow. I believe right now he'd like to run the football to give Brett a chance to get that thumb right. And if he does throw, it's going to be all short stuff like we've seen so far. Here's Sherm Lewis right here. This is his offense finally.
And as he said yesterday to us, I'm a passing guy. Question is, will he be that much of a passing guy with Favre's injury? On 2nd and 10, Levins will need about 9 yards. It'll be 3rd down and 9 at the 41-yard line of Green Bay.
Dick, if the Packers are going to run the football today, one guy they're going to have to keep their eyes on has been Mark Carrier, 27, that safety. And normally at the free position, you don't really have to worry about it. He always seems to play well against the Green Bay Packers.
Leaders of this entire defensive unit. 3rd down and 8. Split backs and split receivers, and Favre's pass thrown behind Freeman, not even close, and the Lions, you can see that Favre is appealing and thought there was a hold on the play, but it won't go, and Terry Fair will go back to receive the punt from newly signed Louis Aguiar, who was signed this week by the Green Bay Packers.
Favre wasn't pleased with the route that was run. In fact, he's saying something to Antonio Freeman all the way across the field.
Terry Fair, who returned a kickoff for 100 yards against the Packers on opening day last year, now doing mostly the punt return. Here is Aguiar in his first punt, an end-over-end kick. First punt in a Packer uniform, and it's returned by Fair up to the 30-yard line. So Brett Favre with 1 series under his belt, but now up to a 2-0 start for the first time in 6 years. will begin from the 33-yard line. They'll open with 3 wide receivers with Morton Crowell and Brian Stabline. And the Lions throwing on first down. It's a screen pass, and it's deflected by Vaughn Booker and nearly picked off by Bonnie Holiday. Let's check out the Lions offensively. Charlie Batch, the second-year quarterback, with a career-high 3 touchdown passes on the road at Seattle last week. The offensive line, patchwork and overachieving in a way last week. Mike Compton is back at center after being out with a sprained knee. Ron Rivers and Corey Schlesinger, the running backs. We'll see Greg Hill as well. And Herman Moore not playing, and Jermaine Crowell is starting. And Batch is sacked. And Vaughn Booker playing big on the first 2 plays from scrimmage today.
Dick, Vaughn Booker can turn around and kiss his coverage. Nice job by George Kuntz of having the coverage on Schlesinger, who he was looking for. And also Leroy Butler had his coverage. And because of that, you're going to watch Vaughn Booker come off on Juan Roque. Roque is not very flexible in his hips. He's kind of stiff. And Booker took advantage of that. Just set him up to the outside and came back underneath.
Charlie Batch was sacked 5 times in the winning game against Seattle last week. So he did not go unscathed. It is 3rd down at 18. And a penalty flag down. And here is Batch with a free play, and he completes the Stabline. Short of the first down by about 6 yards. But the penalty, a 12-yard gain, will be apparently against Green Bay.
Yeah, McKenzie jumped on the left side. Now they're going to ask him, you take that play, it's 4th down, you don't want it. So you're going to have to take it again. You're going to take the penalty, and it'll be 3rd and about 5 yards less, whatever it was. 18, it'll be 13.
Jeff Triplett is our referee today. Defensively for the Packers, Booker, Santana Dotson, who's playing the best. He is the anchor of that defensive line with Bonnie Holiday and Gilbert Brown. Brian Williams with a career game with 16 tackles last week against the Raiders. And in the secondary, Williams and the rookie Mike McKenzie are the cornerbacks with Darren Sharper and Leroy Butler, who plays a lot of linebacker, as you know. And, of course, there are 2 other rookies in the secondary who will see action as well.
And one of them is in right now, Fred Vincent, 31. He's outside on the corner, and the other one's in as well, number 24.
Going to the dime defense on 3rd down,
right down here.
13. And Charlie Batch with a deep drop. No protection this time, and down he goes. And Pete McKenzie getting the sack. So that's the 2nd time the Packers have gotten the Batch, and it's 4th down, and Detroit will have to kick.
And Dick, he just made up for his mistake earlier. And again, that mistake he can make up because the coverage down the field was really good. Batch had nowhere to throw, and specifically had nowhere to throw early. When you have 3rd and 13, you're going to have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. McKenzie took advantage of the coverage and that.
Desmond Howard, who had a brilliant game against the Lions the last time Green Bay won here. In fact, he had a 92-yard punt return for a touchdown. And he'll be on the receiving end as John Jett kicks it away for the Lions. Here is Howard at the 31-yard line. Desmond Howard, and he gets tripped up on a fine special teams play by Ron Rice. Otherwise, Howard might have gotten into Detroit territory. Pumped up Green Bay defense, and it was the coverage that set it up for the defensive line. We'll be right back. All drafted early by the Packers in their secondary. And now the Green Bay Packers with the ball, starting from the 43-yard line, scoreless, with nearly 4 minutes gone by in the first quarter. Favre coming off the left side is Levens. Dorsey Levens, following a good block by Antonio Freeman, gets about 9 yards on the play.
Dick, let's go back to that 3rd down and take a look. This is the coverage you're looking. This is where he was looking first, and this was his 2nd look that he had. Batch went back. McKenzie's able to get himself a rush. Remember, he's holding on to the ball a little bit longer because there has to be a deep pattern. But look at the coverage. Vincent to the outside, Edwards to the inside, nowhere to go. Williams on the other side. Coverage everywhere. Makes you pull the ball and hold it a little longer. And bing, from the backside comes McKenzie.
Charlie Batch taken in the 2nd round last year.
I like that kid.
got a lot of poise and a tremendous amount of self-confidence. They're measuring, and they do have the first down. They spotted the ball, and the marker just tipping the inside of the football. So the Packers with their second first down of this first quarter.
Yeah, I think this is going to underscore what the Packers want to do. They want to run the football, and they want to try to take that ball out of Favre's right hand until they absolutely have to have it. And if they're going to run, then I believe their fullback, William Henderson, is going to have to pick his game up.
J.B. Brown, number 31, has replaced Terry Fair at cornerback for the Lions. First down at the 47-yard line. That yellow marker you see on the left is the first down line. And the handoff going to Levens up the middle, and he dives for about 5. And right now, for an NFL update, let's return to James Brown in Los Angeles.
Dick and Matt, good start for Trent Dilfer out of the shotgun blitz control. Little quick hitch to Burt Emanuel. 19-yard pass play for the score. Bucks up 7-0. And Matt, Dick, Terry Bradshaw still on the Dilfer bandwagon. Back to Dick and Matt.
What do you think of that? You know what? Sooner or later,
if the Tampa Bay Bucks can get some points consistently, they're going to be a good football team because they have the defense to carry them a long way.
Big pitch by Favre. Gets a big rush that time by Aldridge, and the pass intended for Freeman, incomplete. And so the Lions knock down Favre for the first time in the game.
Dick, there's a big difference. And you're right. It's an incomplete pass. That's the way it'll be written, but that should be dropped, because that's a perfect job by Favre of reading the blitz, going to his hot, and the ball is where it has to be. It hits Freeman right in the stomach. You can't drop that ball. Antonio Freeman is way too good of a player to drop that ball, but he does have concentration lapses, and you just witnessed one.
And Freeman, by the way, also has a fever. So he and Ross Berber not feeling as well as they should. And on the first pass, the pass is complete to Corey Bradford for a first down. Bradford, who made several big catches last week, including the one that set up the game winner on the last play of the game.
Nice job of the offensive line of setting it up, and then because of that protection inside, Bradford's able to see. He has the time to be able to go behind Boyd and sneak where Boyd can't feel him. Once you get to the blind side of that underneath coverage, you have yourself a chance to sneak into an open spot. Because Favre had time, he was able to make that throw.
And a report on the other side of the ball for the Packers, Santana Dotson has a stinger in his shoulder.
That's not good.
He has been the key in that defensive line. Meanwhile, the Packers have a first down on the 32-yard line, and Favre.
That's going to be on the Packers. It looked like
penalty flag is down as well.
Yeah, it looked like somebody jumped early, and they nailed the call early, and actually that'll give them a break. It's going to give the Packers a break. That could have been a sack.
Prior to the snap. Both start. Number 81 is the offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
So it'll be first down and 15. Tyrone Davis, who has really turned into a major weapon, as the Packers feel that they have 3 outstanding tight ends, reminiscent of when Shimura and Keith Jackson were doing major production several years ago.
Well, what Tyrone Davis brings is some speed and the ability to get to the middle of the field fast, and that's what Keith Jackson did.
So first and 15, back to the 37. Here's Dorsey Levens off the right side, gets to the 35-yard line where Ron Rice comes up to make the tackle.
Dick, it looks like the Packer offensive line doing a pretty good job coming off the ball. And with Dorsey Levens, you don't have to give him a gaping hole. I think Dorsey Levens does as good a job at pushing. It's not a hole. I don't want to call that a crease. He'll push the crease where there's nothing, and all of a sudden he picks himself up 4 or 5 yards like you saw in this last play.
Second down and 13. And Favre drills it. The pass caught short of the first down. That's Mark Shimura, the tight end, who did not play at all in preseason. He had that sprained back, and he'll mark it inside the 25, about 1.5 yards shy.
Well, Brett told Pam Oliver prior to the game he's going to see how that thumb feels as he goes. One thing I'm noticing with Favre already is he's not just throwing with his arm. He's using his whole body. You can see right there, he's just kind of giving a little loosen up. When he's throwing the ball now, you can see he's using everything like a follow-through of a pitcher off the mound.
Third down and 2. Swing pass to Levens, and He's stopped by Fair. Terry Fair making the tackle on Levens. And the Lions hold, and that will force Ray Rhodes to bring in his field goal team.
Nice job by Fair, and a good job of getting up there early, because if Dorsey Levens can square his shoulders and meet him head up, then advantage Dorsey Levens. But because Fair jumped his coverage early, Levens had to turn to catch the ball and had his back to him. It makes it a lot easier to defend.
Ryan Longwell, who did not attempt a field goal last week against the Raiders, will try this from 45 yards out. Matt Hasselbeck, the backup quarterback, is the holder. And the kick by Longwell is perfect. And the Packers, on their second possession of the game, have taken a 3-0 lead over the Lions with just under 7 minutes remaining in the first quarter.
With Favre, if he can get that thumb completely healthy, and Randy Moss, he's always fun to watch.
Rocco Lebo thought better of it and downs Longwell's kick in the end zone for a touchback.
Well, if the first drive was any indicator for the Green Bay defense, they've got to be happy, because what they found is they can take advantage of the right offensive side of Juan Roque. He's having a tough time, so the Green Bay Packers are going to try to take advantage of that. You can see McKenzie with the sack on the third play. Conversely, Detroit is going to have to help him. They're either going to have to keep a back there or a tight end there to chip on him, because the first series they ate him up. Or he's got to pick his game up.
Billy Lyon has replaced Santana Dotson, the second-year tackle from Marshall. First down for the Lions, and Ron Rivers picking up a couple of yards. Rivers with 96 yards, and when we talked to him the other day, he said, now having the thrill of starting after being a caddy for Barry Sanders all these years, hearing the crowd and getting a chance to show what he could do. And we have seen him in the past, and he has shown some flashes.
Well, he's an easy kid to like. He's got a great personality. He's fun to sit and talk to. I like him because of his toughness. He was a wrestler, and once you're that, you got some toughness.
Second down and 8. Corey Schlesinger is now the lone back for the Lions. And Schlesinger gets the handoff, barging through, and gets to the 26-yard line. He'll be 4 yards shy of the first down, with Bernardo Harris making the tackle.
That's a good job of trying to just get your offense and your offensive line a little bit of confidence coming from the sideline. You're struggling a little bit. You just line up and just play power football. Nothing an offensive lineman likes better than to just know that it's just going to be me versus the guy in front of me. They just want an honest shot.
Well, if you're physically tough, it's going to help you mentally, and that's Bobby Ross's philosophy. As Ron Rivers checks back in, he'll be settling in those running backs all day.
Do they help? Roque right away.
Third down and 4, and Santana Dotson. Leroy Butler was at the line of scrimmage, as he often does, and he got to Charlie Batch for the third Packer sack, and they're not keeping the Packer defense out.
Dick, that's just a matter of numbers. At 2 people here versus 3 people here, the back went the other way. You can't account for them. And that's what pass rushing has turned into. It's so schematic. And what it is about, it's about trying to bring somebody free. That time, Leroy Butler had nobody to block him. He better make that step.
John Jett will kick it away, and there's Desmond Howard. A fine kick by Jett. Howard inside the 25-yard line on the return, ran into Vincent, his own man, and is down at the 30-yard line, and Howard not at all happy with where Vincent was at the time. That was a Wells field goal with 4:41 to go in the first quarter. Green Bay with 56 yards, but the story, Detroit minus 12. That's the defense for the Packers as Dorsey Levens tries to go outside, and Ron Rice, tell you, the defensive secondary for the Detroit Lions are pursuing extremely well in this opening quarter.
And he benefited from people inside. Kershke, the defensive end, did a good job, and then Boyd did a nice job of coming from the inside out. Watch Kershke first of all. He holds up 2. Now Boyd is going to come from the inside and take on the fullback, and that will flatten this out. He does a nice job of running through the shoulder of Henderson to make that play.
That's a 2-yard loss, 2nd and 12.
Favre with an audible at the line of scrimmage.
And it's tough with the crowd. the way it is. And there's a pass to Schrader downfield, and it is overthrown incomplete. Terry Fair with help from Mark Carrier, and that will bring up 3rd and long.
Yeah, they're also able to knock Brett Favre down on that throw. Favre comes to the line of scrimmage, and he sees the matchup he likes to the outside. Schrader has deceptive speed, and Terry Fair is lined up on him down below. Then he's able to take that and step in it, and he just gets tripped backwards. Remember, anytime he's falling, he has to brace himself with that right throwing hand, and it's effective.
Like you said,
or a factor, I should say.
Even on the snap, his hand is involved all the time, unfortunately for him. 3rd down and 3, and a pass caught, but well short of the first down by Corey Bradford.
Makes no sense, Dick.
The Lions hold, and of course that's the age-old story. Why don't you get it to the sticks? Does you no good here, and the Packers will have to punt for the 2nd time.
I think it's clear that the thumb is a factor. Favre is not throwing it with the same velocity, and he's not trying the same kind of throws. He's trying to air it out a little bit more when you see him throw deep, and then everything else has been intermediate for the throws. There haven't really been any bullets.
No snap, and he's using that shoulder a lot more than he does. And here is Louis Aguiar with the kick. And Terry Fair coming up with the fair catch at the 28-yard line. Well, here's second most in the NFL to the Cleveland Browns. Most of them on the defensive side. Cleditas Hunt, who is out of Kentucky State, is in the lineup at defensive end for Vaughn Booker. Billy Lyon is in his 2nd year, of course, but we talked about those 3 young defensive backs. There is Santana Dotson, who is out with a stinger, still on the sideline, as the Lions start from the 28. Charlie Batch, and the pass to Johnny Morton. He got shut out last week. That's his first reception of the year. And speaking about receivers, let's go down to Pam Oliver, who's with Herman Moore, who's injured.
Thanks a lot, Dick. Sorry, I had to turn on my microphone. Herman, let me ask you something about this Lions team. A lot of people figured that without Barry Sanders, you guys were done. You go to Seattle and take care of business. Tell me about this team and why it's not that bad off without Barry.
I mean, this team is a team that's built around basically being like a family. We rely on one another to go out and make things happen. And we're not going to sit back and wait. I mean, we lost Barry, and it was a tremendous loss. But this team has the heart and the motivation to move on. And what we're going to do is just, do what we can as individuals. And everyone has a role to play. And we're just trying to do whatever we can as individuals to make this team a better team.
What about your knee injury? When might you be back in a uniform?
Well, I'm hoping that I'll be back, 4 to 6 weeks. Right now, after a week, feels a little bit better. And when you're out here, and I'm wishing I could be out there, but I can't. And, I'm going to push it along as well as I can, but not be stupid about it and come back before I'm ready.
Thanks, Herman. We appreciate it. Let's go back upstairs to Dick.
Well, the head coach is a lot more optimistic. He said maybe 2 weeks, but he's not Herman Moore.
And he's also not a doctor.
Good point by you.
It's funny, the closer guys get to the field and the action, the better they start to feel. You heard Herman Moore say, I'm watching this, he gets itchy. And it happens all the time. If ever a guy gets in a uniform, you know he's playing. And so they did the smart thing and don't even put the uniform on him.
Prior to the snap, false start. Number 77 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
Mike Compton, who's back in the lineup at center for this Lion team, and they've had a whole host of injuries up front, including Aaron Gibson, who was one of their first-round picks, who they had penciled in at right tackle, so they've had a lot of shifting to do, Matt.
Well, they've had that. He jumped a little bit because on that 2nd down, he got stoned by Gilbert Brown. Gilbert Brown just stuffed him at the line of scrimmage and set up that 3rd and short, and after the penalty, now it's 3rd and about 8.
In motion is Jermaine Crowell. Charlie Batch. And the pass is caught by Johnny Morton. And that just gets into Green Bay territory and a gain of 20 yards. So Johnny Morton, shut out a week ago, has caught 2 passes here with Tyrone Williams all over his back.
Well, he does a nice job of using his body. Watch how he's going to get Tyrone Williams on the inside shoulder. And now you use that position to be able to defend with the ball. You use that body position so he can't run through your back. And then because Batch had the time, they did a nice job of protecting. Even though they brought the blitz, he was able to make that throw.
That is the first down of the game for the Lions, and it comes with 1:17 to go in the first quarter. Ron Rivers has some running room up the middle, and he picks up about 5 with Leroy Butler making the tackle.
Dick, I was speaking with Ray Roberts before the game about you know, blocking and how life without Barry and all that stuff. And he was saying it was so hard for him when he came here from Seattle because Barry was such just to that. And with Ron Rivers, he knows where he's going to be, and that makes it a little easier for him.
Second down and 5, and here is Rivers, and he has tripped up.
He's going to have to block a little bit better than that because right there, Vonnie Holliday just took him through to the side and made the tackle.
As you pointed out, so often with Barry Sanders, you wanted the offensive line just to stand up and hold their man out.
Well, in a lot of cases with Barry, what it became was the NBA in pads. That's a nice play by Vonnie Holliday. Takes him, shucks him to the side, and makes the tackle. Now, if you run under a block, you better make the play. Because if you give up that outside, Rivers can get there. It could be ugly.
Third down and 6. Vonnie Holliday with 8 sacks a year ago, and another whistle, and time runs out. That is the end. Packers 3, the Lions nothing. And the Lions with the ball on the 45-yard line of Green Bay.
Charlie Batch, like his poise, Dick, I believe that's probably the best thing he has going for him. He has good quarterback skills, but that kind of puts him over the edge.
Third down and 6. Johnny Morton goes in motion. And Batch's pass is caught, and a great grab by Johnny Morton, who goes in for the score. And he caught it in stride and went all the way. 45 yards.
And he did the Pontiac leap and stand in the end zone. Oh, did I fail to mention about Charlie Batch that he's got a strong arm? That was very well done by Morton, who was able to get to the inside in the middle of the field. And in Batch's eyes, saw it and took advantage of it right away. You watch, he's going to jump inside. He got McKenzie to jump to the outside. And that is just a rookie mistake because there's no help inside except for the linebacker. And then it's Johnny Morton's speed. I want you to watch the Pontiac leap here. Gets a little help, you know, he gets by with a little help from his friends, but then he punctuates it here with, you know, I'm the king of the world kind of thing.
Jason Hansen with the extra point, and the kick is good, and the Lions have taken a 7-3 lead. So what about tattoos?
How do you get rid of a tattoo? I thought once they're on, they're there. Guess not, huh?
I think there are ways, at least I've been told. Jason Hansen on the kickoff, and it's deep into the end zone, and the Packers will take it out to the 20.
And now you make your adjustments. Sherm Lewis, the offensive coordinator, will adjust exactly what he has. And it looks to me like it was a lot of short passes because Favre can't really push it down the field and go to Dorsey Levens.
And here's Levens trying to change direction and go outside, and does a great bit of running. Dorsey Levens turned what could have been a loss into a 7-yard gain, and Stephen Boyd finally corralled him after a gain of about 7.
You know, that's somebody you're going to be talking about all game long, is Stephen Boyd. And he's not, if you look at his measurables, he's not the fastest. He doesn't jump high. He doesn't do the shuttle run and all that baloney that they give you. That kid can play football. And he shows up and he understands the game, plays great angles, and I have a great amount of respect for Stephen Boyd.
Second and 3. Again, they go to Levens up the middle. First down, Packers. Dorsey Levens picking up the first down, and you could see as he crossed the yellow marker, which indicates the first down on your screen.
Yeah, you can see that thing in there. That's a nice feature to have. It's back home where it belongs, right?
Absolutely. It's becoming, you know, like the Fox box was an original,
Sure.
which everyone else has copied, and rightly so, to tell you what's going on in a nutshell. First and 10 at the 31. Play fake. Brett Favre looking for a receiver, and he's going for Freeman, but overthrows it. He was well covered by Westbrook.
That was a good reception on the sideline. You know, Jordan tried to make the catch, but he couldn't quite do it. But there to help him was the sideline stick man,
Richard Jordan.
Yeah, well, you see this? Now that looks like a receiver. It looks like he needs a case of beer on the side. And this is, you know, basic tip drill. They've worked on this now for 4 consecutive weeks, and he's finally got it down.
No, Jordan caught it and handed to him to make the stick man look good.
This is my ball, and I'm going home with it. You don't have a clue. Look at it.
Second down and 10. Here is Levens up the middle. Dorsey Levens up and fumbles, and the Lions recover. Mark Carrier made the hit, and I believe Westbrook recovered for the Lions.
See, Ray Rhodes is saying,
Down by contact.
Did the ground cause the fumble? That's what he wanted to know, because the ground can't cause the fumble. This is a nice job of the offensive line. Good job by Henderson, but that's all Mark Carrier. That's Mark Carrier's head on the ball. Remember, I said it earlier, he gives this team fits. Here's another one.
This is the mental edge the Lions think they get from their fine physical play this year. He's a lot more of an instinctive player than he was early in his career, forces the fumble, and the Lions get the ball on the 40 of the Green Bay. The handoff, fake, play fake, and back. And the pass intercepted by Butler.
Great job by Leroy Butler, laid out.
And there were no Lion receivers anywhere in the neighborhood, and a flag back, and we'll have a holding call against the Lions. It'll be declined as the Packers will get the ball.
When it comes time, now that was a pivotal time right there. You know, they just took over on a big play.
Holding, number 74 in the offense. That penalty is declined. First down, Green Bay.
You had to have a big play guy make a big play. They went with play action right at him. See this? But he saw it and read it. Now watch him turn. That's his coverage underneath. The ball is poorly thrown. That was supposed to go deep to Johnny Morton. But it was a ball that had a chance only for one person, Leroy Butler, and he laid out and made the big play.
So back-to-back turnovers brings the ball back to the Packers side. First down on the 15. Here's Levens off the left side. Nothing doing. Stephen Boyd, we'll mention his name a great deal today. Always around the ball, as Matt pointed out of Boston College. Brings up second down and 10.
Dick, the inside three of the Detroit Lions is stronger than the inside three of the Green Bay Packers. Frank Winters is the strength of those inside three guys. You have Marco Rivera on one side, Mike Wall on the other side. But with Lou Thorell, Stephen Boyd, and James Jones, they should handle the inside of that defense.
Second and 10. Favre running up and on the run, completes to Tyrone Davis, and a first down for the Packers. Tyrone Davis, a tight end in the wide receiver's speed, gets 20 yards and gets out of trouble and gives the Packers room up to the 35.
You know, the one thing that's good is Favre doesn't have to run on his thumb, because those feet get him out of all kinds of trouble. And he's working on Stephen Boyd, and Boyd looks back. See what happened as he's looking underneath. Favre just waits for the separation. Tyrone Davis just goes deep. If you're locked on a receiver, stay on that receiver. Don't look back inside.
This time Schrader and Freeman line up to the right on first down. And here is Levens. And a minimal gain for Dorsey Levens, and once again Stephen Boyd in on the play with the 3 minutes now gone by in the second, and the Lions leading 7-3.
See, these are the kinds of plays that you don't get to appreciate because the game happens so fast. Stephen Boyd stuffed that fullback in the backfield, and he took the ball, he took it completely away. I want you to watch. He's going to attack inside, and he plays it on their side. Boom, right there. Stands him up, he drills him, flattens him out, then turns around and makes the play. That gets me excited when I see good physical play like that.
I can feel it.
There's not enough of that in the league right now. Too many guys are running around blocks.
And the quick out to Antonio Freeman, and Freeman, short of the first down by a couple of yards, will bring up third down and about 2 for the Green Bay Packers. Brett Favre, playing with the injured hand, the sprained thumb, and the bruised muscle, did not practice until through Friday, and not the same. But Brett Favre, as he said, with an emotional finish to last week's game, and especially facing the press, he wanted to do it for Ray Rhodes, the new coach. And what was a tremendously emotional game. Third down and 2. Favre's pass knocked down, and it was knocked down by Robert Bailey, the nickelback intended for Antonio Freeman.
Yeah, he went right over the top of Antonio Freeman, and Favre's not happy with that, and he's letting them know. Watch Antonio Freeman working to the out. He's going to go in, and then Bailey's going to pick him up. That's nice combination coverage. That's good defense. Yeah, I have no problem with that whatsoever, and neither did the officials. Good play by Bailey.
Bailey, the veteran nickelback, forces Louis Aguiar to come in for his third punt of the game. Terry Fair deep to return for the Lions. It's an end-over-end kick. On the run is Fair. Terry Fair, and good coverage by the Packers special teams as Fair, after a 7-yard return, is here. All you'd want in a 7-3 game. Lions start from their 26. Ron Rivers off the left side is dragged down by Vonnie Holiday for no gain.
Second good play by Vonnie Holiday. That time he did hold the outside. You know, Vonnie Holiday has himself a lot of talent. And he's got to hold this and keep the outside. That's perfect. That is textbook. Comes right down the line. He's got a lot of talent. He still rushes at defensive end like he was a defensive tackle. He's got a ways to go in that. In fact, I believe he needs to be more productive with the talent he has.
2nd and 10, play fake for Batch. Batch up the middle, and here is Sloan, the tight end. David Sloan. Touchdown, Lions. He can't quite get up there, Matt. 74 yards for the score. Wide open.
Well, they have a love fest going down there in the left side of the corner. Sloan, people don't know David Sloan. David Sloan can flat out run. There's a nice job of him getting to the middle of the field where there was no defender. The safety split, and then it just turns into a race. And look at the long legs of Sloan are going to beat the legs of Leroy Butler.
A year ago, Sloan was in Alabama rehabbing his knee, missed most of the year. He was healthy back in '95 and has had knee surgery since then, now almost as good as new.
What the Packers were hoping was that they could get a jump early to keep the crowd and the confidence.
Now a 14-3 lead. Like this, they'll have more sellouts like they do today here at the Silverdome, as Detroit leading 14-3. Charlie Batch has thrown touchdown passes to Johnny Morton for 45 yards, and moments ago to David Sloan, who has a career-long catch of 76 yards. And Desmond Howard back to receive the kickoff from to the 20-yard line.
For those of you who are sitting at home and wondering, how the heck did he get so wide open? This is what's called the cover 2. They're playing halves. The weakness is right down the middle. In this coverage, your middle linebacker has got to get depth. Specifically with that tight end. He's the guy who can hurt you first. He didn't get the depth, and he was able to split both those safeties. And Sloan runs a lot better than people give him credit for. All that doesn't happen unless you get good protection. This is good protection. Ray Roberts is working on Vonnie Holiday, and Tony Semple just gives him an exclamation point.
Packers come back trailing now. 14-3, starting from the 20-yard line, and Favre will go to the air, and he completes the pass for about 6 yards to Tyrone Davis. And right now, for an NFL update, let's return to James Brown in Los Angeles.
Matt, the Giants offense didn't get across the 50 last week, had only 12 yards in the first quarter today, but Charles Way in the red zone takes it in for the score. First offensive touchdown of the season for the Giants, trailing Washington 21-7. Dick Stockton, Matt Miller.
Well, the Redskins did score a lot of points last week in a losing cause, and already 21 on the board today.
Well, as long as they have Brad Johnson, they're going to be much better. That team can score.
Bart Shimura on the sideline right now, and the handoff is to Levens, who dives forward. Did not get the first down, missed by about 1.5 yards. Good pressure that time by Ron Rice, and Luther Ellis in on the play, so it'll be 3rd down and short.
Dick, you know, all this stuff that went on this offseason here in Detroit, I think, served some good. I think the one thing it did was it lit a fire into some people's rear ends, and they got some things done. And one of the things they did, they made sure all the rookies were signed this year coming in, and they also got some of their veterans. Stephen Boyd was taken care of, Luther Ellis was taken care of, and it created a sense of urgency, and I really believe that that's what the Fords had in mind, and they got that accomplished.
Ellis just got a 6-year extension this week. Exactly what you're... He suffered a stinger in both hands, and is questionable as to whether Shimura will be back for the Packers. They've already lost Santana Dotson with a stinger.
Well, remember, he had some neck problems. And if he's getting a stinger, that's nothing to mess with. Take your tape, I'll take your pads off, have a seat. It's not that important.
Packers need 2 yards. They're on their 28-yard line. Brett Favre, and the pass intended for Freeman is incomplete. They get Bradford, and that was Carrier on the defense, and that'll bring up 4th down.
Good play by Mark Carrier. Stayed right with them in a match that he shouldn't be able to make. Bradford's a much faster player, and Favre's mad at himself because he can't throw the ball the way he wants to throw it. But don't underestimate Mark Carrier. He's one of those guys who always comes through with plays.
4th down, and Louis Aguiar, who last kicked for the Kansas City Chiefs before he was signed this week.
Pretty consistent, wouldn't you say, unless that's a misprint. 37, 37, 37.
Now let's see if he does it again. Here's Terry Fair on the return. Terry Fair gets some running room for the Lions into Green Bay territory. And Fair is out of bounds at the 31-yard line, knocked out of bounds by the punter, Aguiar. Dick on special teams last week in the victory over Seattle. But Fair with a 36-yard punt return, giving the Lions tremendous field position on the Packer 31, leading already by a score of 14-3.
Dick, there's nothing more dangerous than a confident team. Confidence just elevates everybody.
Greg Hill is in the lineup as the running back for the first time today, and he'll get the chance. Greg Hill gets about 2 yards on the play with Billy Lyon, the defensive tackle who went in early when Santana Dotson came out with his stinger, and it'll be 2nd down and long.
Greg Hill is being used as the changeup guy, the speed guy, but it's a feel thing, and the feel they have is that Greg Hill gives them speed that they don't have on the team right now.
Scored 3 touchdowns while playing for Kansas City a couple of years ago against the Packers. 2nd down and 9. And here's Charlie Batch going up top to Crowell, and it's knocked away. And a fine defensive play by Mike McKenzie, the rookie, who stayed with Crowell all the way.
Well, they are doing a good job of a couple things, are the Detroit Lions. First of all, Roquet has got himself back together. Okay, now he's giving him time to throw out there. And when he has that time, he can make that throw. Now, that throw hung a little bit too much. You saw it at the end. Crowell had him beat, but McKenzie did a nice job of coming back underneath to deflect that ball.
Meanwhile, good news for the Packer defense. Santana Dotson, who had been out since the early going, has checked back in at tackle, bringing up 3rd down and 9. From the 30-yard line, Charlie Batch with a slant pass to Brian Stabline in his first catch of the season, and a 1st down inside the 20.
Just taking advantage of the young players. It's a tough place to learn to play defensive back in the National Football League. Vincent to the outside, McKenzie to the inside. They're going to keep on going with it. Watch, they're going to clear here and open this up. And all they're doing, they have Sharper sitting to the inside, Vincent to the outside. Vincent's expecting help, but when they clear, it opens. Batch is hitting it perfectly.
Stabline in his 6th year, now the 3rd wide receiver with Herman Moore on the sidelines. Packers threaten on the 17. Ron Rivers, and it's Vaughn Booker who doesn't let go of his foot. But he still picks up about 4 yards anyway.
Well, somebody's not getting up. That's Tony Semple, 62. That's not good the way he's, you know.
Wheatley, and here's Gannon. Lost the ball, and that is a fumble, not a pass.
Pretty good compliment, because you know assistant coaches from many, many years in the league, and he was with Bobby Ross in San Diego. In fact, talking with him when we were looking at film yesterday about Crowell, everyone mentions that Crowell and Herman Moore are similar, and he says he's more like Tony Martin, the wide receiver who they had in San Diego, now with the Miami Dolphins, because he's got a lot more speed. And the crowd giving Tony Semple a standing ovation as he gets up.
They're having an argument right now for one. You know, they want to put Tony Semple on that cart, and Tony says, forget it, I'm walking. I know I'm in pitch. Just let me walk, okay? This is a personal thing.
Ken Falb is trying to reason with him. I think Tony's going to get his way.
Yeah, that's Tony Semple's way of saying, I at least won this. I may be banged, but let me go. I respect that. That's warrior stuff.
Cowboys, and not yet really ready for prime time, according to Bobby Ross. He's got a few more years.
What he had to do was follow the block of the hot man on the spot, Curlin Blaze, 65, working against Santana Dotson. It's tough to be standing there being cold, and all of a sudden you got to make the play. That's a good block by Blaze, who stayed with him and shielded him and allowed him to come through.
Officials concurring. They still haven't changed the marker to third down. It is, though, the 3rd down and 6. And now they have 3rd and 6 from the 13.
Where they've been hurt, the Packers have been hurt, it's been to the middle of the field on 3rd down. Oh, Curlin Blaze did one good thing, now he does one bad thing.
And a false start.
Number 65 in the offense.
So now 3rd and 6
remains 3rd down.
becomes 3rd and 11 for the Lions, who are already in field goal territory.
Well, you know, you can start to feel that blitz coming. And there it is. Leroy Butler jumped right up inside. Now you know you're going to have your protections right. It's not like Leroy Butler is going to overpower you, but he's going to have to make you account for him, and you have to be right.
Tony Semple suffered a dislocated elbow. Meanwhile, the Lions, following the penalty, 3rd down and 11, back to the 18. Charlie Batch getting pressure, and his pass is intercepted by Brian Williams.
That is perfectly played by Brian Williams. They tried to clear the outside inside the 20 to play that zone. Then they'll take Brian Williams and they'll run him on a swing down the sideline and expect that the speed of the back can beat the speed of the linebacker. You watch this, he's going to swing right outside down this sideline. But Williams, they cover that blitz. Watch that. That's perfect job by Brian Williams.
But the ball is marked at the 1-yard line.
Well, I don't know about that. Watch this. Nicely done. They're going to have the momentum. Oh, I don't know about that. And Bobby told us he's going to get mad at him sometimes. But he believes that he has to let him go this year and just let him play. I think that's a bad call by the officials. I think his momentum took him into the end zone, and that should be a touchback.
So the Packers have it on the 1. This is where the crowd could be a factor. Favre's pass to Freeman. He catches it. And Brian Westbrook on the hit, a gain of about 8-yard line, and that was a tough play because Freeman knew he was going to be hit immediately.
But what you're afraid of is that you're going to get hit by the safety. And you're expecting that ball to come out quick, and you better have something on it. And Favre, as you see, threw his whole body into it to get it out there, because you have to give your receiver a chance to beat who's ever inside here. Nice play by Brian Westbrook.
2nd and 2.
Favre audibling at the line of scrimmage again.
And the handoff to Dorsey Levens. And he seems to be shy of the 1st down. It'll be 3rd down and 1, a gain of 1 for Levens, with under 4.5 minutes remaining in the 1st half.
You know, there's all this crowd noise, and I believe right there, Favre checked at the line of scrimmage, and I don't believe William Henderson got the call, because as it was about to be snapped, he was still... Watch him right here. Watch him back there. Here's the audible. He's going, he's barking it out. He yells it back, and now he's... You see, he was going with the hand. And Henderson knew it, too. He couldn't hear. He's saying, Favre's saying, hey, watch my rear end. I'm giving you the signal.
2 tight ends, and the quarterback sneak for the 1st down, Brett Favre. And let's see where they spot the ball. That'll be important as well.
Remember, there's that yellow line we have right down there.
We may have
right
a
down here.
measurement. This may be measured, and if I'm the Lions, I would want to measure to make sure that Favre got across.
Did you see Stephen Boyd at the end of that just kind of nudging him back? Like, you ain't up this far. Watch Stephen Boyd at the end here. Yeah, and he's going to talk to him. The ball was right here.
He's negotiating. This is going to be close.
That's a first.
Barely. but it's a first.
And Stephen Boyd's not very happy. He's basically saying that that's on you. That's a bad spot, but that's a gutsy call by Favre.
And with the crowd noise being what it is, that's
now
a great call.
Watch him at the end. See how he's going to give him the back end? Keep on pushing him backwards, nudging him back. A little bit of body English.
First down for the Packers. They get the first down after starting from their 1. Dorsey Levens. Not much, and it was James Jones. Jones, 9-year veteran who has been added to the Lions defense along with Kelvin Pritchett. Jones coming over from the Baltimore Ravens.
And he's helped them, Dick, because he's solidified. He's not a great player, but he's a good, solid player. They brought him over to free it more, and it's also helped that circle inside. James Jones and Stephen Boyd, Luther Ellis gives them a pretty solid inside group.
Second down and 10. Favre going up top for Freeman. He's got it. Antonio Freeman is brought down by Westbrook from behind, saving a possible touchdown as Freeman picks up 51 and the Packers' longest gain of the day.
Remember, we said at the top of the show that you had to be able to block Robert Porcher. Earl Dotson's working on him and blocks him perfectly. Allows Favre to have that time. And then he gets on top of his coverage, which was fair, but Westbrook does a great job of getting on his horse and then gets that hand up and makes the play. If he doesn't make this, it's 88 and out the gate. Tell me Favre's not into this game.
Remember, the Packers started from their 1. They're on the Lions 39.
They're adjusting again at the line of scrimmage.
And the quick to Schrader. Gets past one defender. Terry Fair did not make the tackle, and Schrader gets about 6 yards on the play as we're flagged down, and we will have a illegal procedure or false start call against Green Bay.
False start. Number 72 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
That's big Earl Dotson. Let's take a look at what Favre was looking at. This was the last play, and Brett Favre saw that he had this cushion. So he comes up to the line of scrimmage, and if you're going to give him that, this is the more freedom that he has this year with Sherm Lewis than he did a year ago. So he adjusts, audibles at the line of scrimmage, one step, boom, take advantage of it.
Second down and 9 now at the 38-yard line. Tyrone Davis went in motion to the left, nowhere there, and he dumps it off to Dorsey Levens, trying to outrace the rookie Claiborne. And Claiborne catches up with help from Ron Rice, but it'll be a first down deep into Lion territory at the 17-yard line.
That's a mistake by Dorsey Levens. You should have gotten out of bounds right there. Even though you have time and you have timeouts, you still go ahead and use that sideline as your friend. Good job as you're watching Dorsey Levens not get out of bounds of the offensive line, and they're giving Favre time. That time, he had a chance to look over the whole field and still dump it off.
21-yard gain on the pass and run. 1:19 to go. The Packers still with 2 timeouts in their pocket. First down on the 17 for Green Bay, trailing 14-3. Favre's pass overthrown. He threw it away. Freeman might have fallen down right at the goal line, and it stops the clock with 1:08.
Watched Earl Dotson earlier block Robert Porcher, but you know the Packers know that that is going on, so they're going to help over there all the time. They're not going to let Robert Porcher become a factor. He becomes a bigger factor in this game because of the noise and because of the turf. Oh, and did I mention he's a pretty good player?
Yes. Pretty good drive. Started at the 1-yard line for Green Bay. Second down and 10. Favre drills it to Davis, and a flag is down, and let's see whether Robert Bailey might have held on to Tyrone Davis.
Well, that official, his job right there is to look right at the tight end, and he's going to make that call. That's the back judge. And his job is to watch the tight end completely. Watch Tyrone Davis. He's working on Bailey, tries to get to the inside, and that's what he's going to call. Personally, I don't like that call.
Holding on the defense.
He was draped on him, but let him play.
You know, normally it's the left hand that does the holding, but his left hand was not anywhere near him there.
Well, he kept it on his hip, which is what you're always taught, and tried to come over the top. From his vantage point, it looked like he mugged him a little bit, so that's what they threw it on.
It'll be a first down for the Packers on the 12-yard line. And from the Lions' point of view, if they can hold the Pack to just a field goal, they'll be very pleased with the first half. A Green Bay touchdown really thrust them back into this game in a big way.
With Mark Shimura out, Thomason now is in, along with Tyrone Davis.
Schrader is the man in motion. And Favre goes to Schrader, trying to use his speed, and he's tackled at about the 6. Alan Aldridge, who moved over from
Well, he was
the strong to the weak side linebacker.
Denver, then he came here, then they moved him outside, and he's played pretty well. It's interesting, Dick, as we're looking at this, as the clock is ticking down to 44 seconds, Favre told us last week in that 2-minute drill how much time he believed he had and how he perceived it versus how everybody else perceived it. 33 seconds, heck, he could read Tolstoy here.
Or most of it. Second down and 3. And the pass intended for Davis again. Incomplete. Westbrook was covering. So it'll be third down. And this is a very critical down as far as the first half is concerned for this game. 14-3 the score. And if the Lions hold here, the Packers will be forced to go for the field goal.
If I'm the Detroit Lions, I got to be very careful of picks. Now, I know they're illegal, but you can use the defender's movement against them and make it look. It's a Green Bay Packer timeout. They finished the game last week. And, Terrell Davis makes you dean. All these people, the players are the game.
Third down and 3. Here is Favre. Flag is down, and Favre going to the end zone, and it's incomplete. Boggled by Antonio Freeman, and holding will be called against the Packers. And of course, the Lions will have to decline that penalty. They don't want to give Green Bay another down. It'll be fourth down, and here is Jeff Triplett.
Holding. Number 78 of the offense. That penalty is declined. Fourth down.
That's Ross Verba working outside. They moved Porcher from one side to the other, and they caught him with the inside hold. Remember, Robert Porcher wasn't having much success on the other side, so they moved him over to Verba, and Verba is playing with the flu, and by all rights, shouldn't even be out there.
So now the Lions held, and now it's up to Ryan Longwell, who has kicked a field goal earlier.
This could make it a one-score game, Dick.
And the 24-yard field goal attempt is good, and it is now 14-6. But 14-6 is a lot better to stomach than 14-10 if you're Bobby Ross. And we have 10 seconds remaining. This was an impressive Packer drive that started on the 1-yard line, stalled deep in the red zone as the Pack settled for the field goal.
Hey, it's like, yeah, we got beat again, but hey, I hit one.
And I love the way he hops out of the batter's box when he knows that ball is out of there.
Yeah, that's the way I used to do it there, Nammy.
Longwell will kick off. Brock Olivo back deep for the Lions with 10 seconds to go. Olivo 4 yards in his end zone on the return, and he gets to about the 18, and the clock stops with 5 seconds remaining in the first half.
Remember, Favre came into this game with that thumb and didn't know how it was going to be. He said, we'll find out as we go. And I think what you found out as he's gone, he's forgotten about that thumb, and the game has become bigger. Now, Monday morning, it'll be a different story.
Well, he said it was sore yesterday. He knew it would be sore today. In fact, he said, look, it may be sore all year long, but I can grip the football, and as long as I don't really get hit hard on it, I'm going to play, and he has. Meanwhile, the Lions will take a knee and take the time as it runs out. Charlie Batch had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but those 2 big plays. Ready to Packers just jumped high in the air as if he were in the Olympics. That was Todd McBride.
Todd McBride decided to go airborne. You know, at one point when you're playing kickoffs, you have to have a couple screws loose. And then he went for broke. I mean, he went airborne. Watch him. It's amazing. He just goes up and over, a swing and a miss, but a great effort. He's going, man, I can't believe I missed him. He was there a second ago.
He didn't miss the ground. Lions first down from the 20-yard line. Charlie Batch giving to Ron Rivers for the first play of the third quarter, and Rivers gets a couple of yards. Let's take a look now at the halftime statistics.
Well, to me, in my mind, here's the big key right there, those two turnovers. The passing yards for the Lions, and then the passing yards for the Packers. I think what that tells you is that Favre's thumb, although it's still a factor, he felt better as that first half went on.
Bobby Ross told Pam Oliver during intermission that he was very displeased with the Lions' running game. They had only 14 yards on the ground in the first half. Second down and 7. Play action for Batch. He has time trying to get away from Holiday, and he goes underneath to Ron Rivers. Ron Rivers with the second effort gets the first down for the Lions. Pretty nifty bit of running by Ron.
Trying to find Johnny Morton down the field, but there was coverage by Tyrone Williams. He's going to come out. He's just bailing on the zone the whole time. He's going to take that away from him. And then as he looks back underneath, you see he looks first to the left. Now he buys time. Now it's anybody's ball game. But watch, Bernardo Harris got too high on Rivers, and Rivers did a good job of spinning back inside to pick up that first.
Lions now at their 34. And now Corey Schlesinger finds a bit of an opening off the left side and picks up about 2 on the play. Brian Williams in on the tackle. So the Lions going with Schlesinger, Ron Rivers, and Greg Hill as their running backs, with Barry Sanders no longer on the scene. And that trio gained 166 yards last week against Seattle.
Well, what Bobby Ross told Pam, he wasn't pleased with his running game. He's going to make sure he gets something out of it right now. There's Barry. Hey!
Nice play again on the rollout. Charlie Batch's pass, and it is incomplete. Johnny Morton is defended by Mike McKenzie. That will bring up third down.
McKenzie's a battler. He hangs out there. He got beat. He forgot about it. Came right back to it. He'll get better as he understands where he's supposed to be and his help is.
You know, it's interesting seeing that sign, those young players in the secondary, bringing up third down and 8.
It's been a quiet day for Jermaine Crowell.
And the pass out of the backfield to Crowell on cue. And Crowell tackled shy of the first down, and the Lions will have to kick it away. It was a week ago he had his career best day with 7 catches, including 2 touchdown receptions.
His best days are all ahead of him. He's learning. He's a work in progress. He's got great skills. He's got a big body, and he's a willing learner.
You're right. That was his first catch of the day. So John Jett into punt. Desmond Howard. Good high kick by Jett. On the 11-yard line, Desmond Howard reversing his direction and then flattened. And that was Richard Jordan who brought down the Desmond Howard with authority. Cars from past years. Here's Dorsey Levens with a first down. Levens tackled by Mark Carrier and a gain of 16 yards. That's the best running effort today by the Packers.
Dick, the inside 3 of the Green Bay Packers, Rivera, Wall, and Frank Winters, I think are playing really well. I think they're doing a better job than I anticipated they would do. That time, Stephen Boyd overran the play, and Dorsey Levens took advantage of it, that hole inside. But those inside 3 are holding up against a couple pretty good players in there.
First down, Packers on their 35. Brett Favre going up top for Schrader, and Schrader, the defender fell down. That was Brian Westbrook, and the pass a little bit too long for Schrader, and it goes incomplete. But the speedster had eluded the Lion cornerback, and now
nice.
Westbrook that hamstring taken up. Yep.
He's holding that hamstring. Watch, he's trying to go. He pulled the hamstring. Went right to that hamstring. And people forget or don't know how fast Bill Schrader is. He's a track guy, he can run. I think he ran so well there that Westbrook just popped a hammy.
And we'll take a break right now, and we'll be back to the Silverdome in just a moment.
Westbrook is running stride, and right there, he just felt down. That hamstring went
The ball was overthrown.
Robert Bailey replaces Westbrook, and the pitch to Dorsey Levens. And Carrier makes the shoe top tackle, knocks him out of bounds, but not before Levens gets the first down in midfield.
That was a steal. That play was stolen from the Oakland Raiders last week, John Gruden. And what they did, they faked inside, and they're going to throw it right back outside. You expect the defensive end, Kursky, to come down. Now, I want you to watch at the end. This is an excellent job, Mark Carrier, using angles and the sideline to help him make that tackle. It's a tough position to be in. Well played by Carrier.
Ryan Westbrook has a pulled hamstring, questionable as to his return. First down at the 49, and here's the pass in traffic. It's intercepted by Robert Bailey. Bailey on the return. He just went in for the injured Westbrook, and Bailey gives the Lions the ball back in Packer territory. That was an interception return of 32 yards for Robert Bailey.
Looked to me like Brett Favre was feeling better about his thumb and decided to try to put some mustard on that. And what he forgot was that Bailey was hanging to the outside. He's going to try to hit Freeman down the slot. But the ball came from behind. Bailey was hanging outside with Schrader, and he just played back inside to the ball. Now, he knew it, too. Favre knew it as soon as he let it go.
So the Packers turn it over for the second time, and the Lions, with a 14-6 lead on the 46 of Green Bay. Charlie Batch has some time, and the pass incomplete. Unable to hold on to that throw was Jermaine Crowell.
I will go back to where we started this game. Although this time I would say that Brett Favre feels a little bit better about that hand. He's not throwing the whole thing like he was with his shoulder. Maybe it loosened up a little bit. Regardless of that, what he didn't see was Bailey hanging to the outside, was able to undercut that underthrown ball.
Brett Favre, 50% inaccuracy. Meanwhile, the handoff to Ron Rivers, looking for running room, and Rivers picking up about 5 yards on the play. Right now, for an NFL update, let's return to James Brown in Los Angeles.
Dick and Matt, much more imaginative play calling by Tampa Bay this day. Take a look at Mike Allstott's 17-yard reception from Trent Dilfer, 19-5 over the Eagles. That in the third. Dick Stockton, Matt Miller.
Boy, Trent Dilfer really needed that. He needs to have some success to get everybody off his back and let him relax, because the biggest and toughest obstacle he has to get over is himself. He beats himself up.
3rd and 6 on the 42 of Green Bay. And Batch goes down, sacked for the 4th time. And that was Keith McKenzie, who picks up his 2nd of the game. And so the Lions are thwarted, and now the Green Bay defense holds and will get the ball back with 9:33 to go in the 3rd.
Now he was looking up top. He wanted Sloan inside and Crowell down below. McKenzie did a nice job of playing that perfectly. And then to the top side, this was Williams versus Morton. There was no place to throw the ball, and Roquet got beat clean. McKenzie makes the sack.
Here's John Jett, and a fair catch called for by Howard. So Jett does his job.
A year ago, they have to still find their stride.
There's a handoff to Dorsey Levens, and Levens, who averaged over 4 yards a carry last week, has over 80 yards. And it was Randy Moss who did a number on the Green Bay defense last year in their battle in Minnesota.
Now, what it was just basic throw and catch with Randy Moss. Throw it up, and he's got such great skills. He'll just beat you. He'd probably be a pretty good rebounder in the NBA. That's how he plays.
He thought about playing in the NBA, but great performances by Randy Moss in both of the games last year against the Packers. 2nd down and 6 on the 18. Brett Favre under pressure, and down he goes. Alan Aldridge. And that is the first time today that the Lions have sacked Brett Favre.
And it came with numbers. Just one too many guys working off that right offensive side, defensive left side. He went hot down here. You got to stay with that longer. He's got to know that's a blown assignment there by Tyrone Davis. He stays with Aldridge, just gives him a push and then lets him go. Favre is thinking he's accounted for. Mistake, sack.
He's been sacked once, hit 5 times. That's the big one, and of course 1 interception. 3rd and 11. Favre steps up, tries to drill it, and the pass nearly picked off by Carrier.
Good coverage.
Intended for Antonio Freeman, and that'll bring up 4th down, and the Packers will have to punt from near their goal line.
Good coverage by the Detroit Lions. Got a little bit of pressure up front. Didn't allow Favre to have to set his feet and throw. But even if he could have set his feet, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. Coverage was too good.
Louis Aguiar. That's his average. Terry Fair has done a solid job returning today. And a good kick by Aguiar, and Fair back to his 43-yard line and tripped up and down he goes. And that was Corey Bradford, hired by Ray Rhodes in a new coaching regime here in Green Bay. First down for the Lions. Greg Hill is the running back and gets the pitch. And Hill, diving forward, picks about 7 yards on the play. Well, it was less than a month ago that Fritz Schirmer, who was a tremendous defensive coach back to fundamental days in high school and the defensive coordinator under Mike Holmgren and many other clubs, passed away from cancer. He had been appointed the defensive coordinator under Mike Holmgren in Seattle, never could fulfill that. And I know, Matt, you have been close to him, you've been to his house, and you really subscribe to what this man was all about.
Well, Fritz Schirmer was more than a football coach. Fritz Schirmer was a man who cared and had a lot of people care for him, and he'll be missed by more than the fans and the players. He's a great person, and we offer our best to his wife Peg, and I really love the guy. He was a great guy.
He always had time for us when we came to town and really broke down defenses. I know that he started his coaching career here in Detroit, but you made sure that his books that he wrote on defense were shown on our air.
He was the best. Fritz, we don't make very many like Fritz Schirmer.
3rd and 3. Charlie Batch under pressure dumps it off to Greg Hill, and they'll be shy of the first down by a couple of yards, and it was Bonnie Holiday who put on the initial pressure.
You know, Dick, Fritz Schirmer would be proud of the way the defense played right there in that 3rd down situation, because it was the same kind of defense that he espoused. Everybody getting to the ball, everybody taking care of what their assignment is. And the difference that Emmett Thomas has brought to this defense, they've gone away from the old 2-gap system where your up-front people are having to battle and control 2 gaps. They're giving them a 1 gap, and it's a little bit different.
John Jett on 4th down kicking, and again a fair catch called for by Desmond Howard. And Jett is doing a fine job by keeping the ball back in Green Bay territory. So the to go in the 3rd quarter, and teams parrying with one another, Matt. It's almost like everyone is kind of waiting for the big play that may be the big play in this game.
Detroit's got to be careful that they're letting Green Bay hang around here too long. You don't let Brett Favre hang around. They've got to make themselves a move, or they're going to find themselves at the wrong end of the stick.
Packers right on their average starting field position of the 21-yard line as we begin here, and the pass to Antonio Freeman, nothing doing.
Well played by Bailey. Yeah, it's the 2nd play by Bailey. You know, as a player, what you have to be able to do, and this is what Bobby Ross was saying was missing a couple years. You have to be in the sideline. You've got to be in the game. You've got to see what's going on. If you're Robert Bailey, you saw that Brett Favre gave that signal earlier to Freeman, and the ball came out quick. And Bailey seemingly did that. When the ball was thrown, he saw the signal. He broke on that very quickly.
They lost a yard on the play.
Another audible. He sees this out here.
Hand off to Dorsey Levens, who has averaged over 5 yards a carry. Not that time. Travis Kersky comes up and makes the play, but you pointed out Robert Bailey alert on the last play. Brian Westbrook going out with the hamstring pull. So Bailey, normally the nickel corner, now forced to play in the regular rotation. Tough man to lose is Westbrook. And there's Kevin Abrams, who would have been the nickel back this year, but he has been injured, and it's going to be about 6 weeks before he may get back.
J.B. Brown is now taking up the slot man right here.
3rd down and 8. Brett Favre going on top for Schrader. He's got it. Schrader run out of bounds on the big play to the 31-yard line. Robert Bailey was covering, but Schrader beat him with the speed and a pickup of 46 yards.
Looks like Favre's thumb's starting to feel better. And he got the matchup outside. Again, he likes the speed of Schrader. This wouldn't have happened a couple years ago. Remember when Schrader was in the doghouse with Mike Holmgren, almost was slated to be on the scrap heap. Favre has developed confidence, and that is a well-thrown ball because that's not bad coverage by Bailey. He was to the inside. The ball came over the top where it had to be.
And that matches Schrader's career-long receiving mark of 46.
Favre changing again.
From the 31-yard line, Brett Favre can feel it now, and here is Corey Bradford. Flag is down, and he was covered by Bailey downfield.
Favre's not wasting any time getting after him, is he?
And apparently it's against the Lions.
He went with a hitch. He went with that. It was a double move. He set him up earlier with that quick throw. This time he did the same thing, came out to the line of scrimmage, then gave him the pump.
Pass interference. Defense, number 35. Ball will be placed to the spot of the foul. First down.
Here's Favre. See, he's giving to him again. See, here's the signal. Similar to the signal he gave just 2 plays ago. Now he sees he has the matchup. Instead of going quick, he's going to fake the quick right here. Fake. Now watch you bite. Now go down the field. That is good quarterback play with his eyes.
That was a 14-yard penalty. Now the Packers threatening on the 17 of Detroit. Here is Dorsey Levens looking for running room off the left side and picks up 2 to the 15.
You're Robert Bailey. You know you're on the hot seat right now with Brett Favre. You've got to play it smart. He did have good coverage earlier. Now he's working on Bradford. And personally, I think that's a bad call. And I've tried to clarify how they're going to call this. And they're saying if you're looking for the ball or if you're just jostling, they'll leave that alone. To me, that looked like a jostle.
They seem to loosen up their pass interference deal this year. Not there, however. Second down and 8. Favre going for Schrader, but nothing there as he might have cut off the route. And that will bring up third down.
I was trying to work on Bailey again to Schrader, but Bailey's hanging tough in there. He's hanging tough. You have to remember when a guy's coming off the bench like that, you get thrust right into the position. You're normally playing slot receiver. Now you're playing outside. That's a completely different position. One thing he's doing is he's using his help well.
Packers still looking for their first touchdown of the day. Third and 8. Here's Favre underneath, and falling down was Antonio Freeman. Otherwise, he could have walked into the end zone, it appeared. And he is stopped down at the 4-yard line.
He tried to roll into the end zone. That turf monster reached up and grabbed him.
But it's a first down anyway.
You're gonna come and cross, come all the way across. Now you're gonna expect the guy to overplay you, and he does. It was J.B. Brown. But then that 10-yard line reached up and grabbed his ankle, tripped him up, and sets up this first and goal. And Favre is not a happy camper.
Ball is at the 4-yard line. Packers trailing 14-6.
See, Favre got rid of that bandage on his hand. He got sick of it.
He doesn't feel it. You're right. Here is Levens. And Levens dived for maybe a yard, and it was Luther Ellis who was right in the middle of that play and pointed out how strong with Ellis and James Jones the Lions tackles are. And there you see the bandage ripped away from his right hand. It's a matter of feel, and if he can feel the football.
I don't think he's even thinking about that hand. I think the only people making a big deal about the hand is you and me right now. Because Favre certainly doesn't at this point. He's been throwing balls like he normally does. And then the next thing that the Detroit Lions have to worry about is not his hand, it's his feet.
8th play of the drive coming up.
Fumble. They had to worry about his hand right there.
Lions get it. Andre Collins, I think, is right in the middle of it, and he is. Former linebacker from the Redskins, Bears, Bengals, Penn Stater, makes a big recovery as Favre loses the ball. Get the ball on their 6. Here is Ron Rivers. spinning his way.
He's tough.
For a gain of 7 yards.
Ron Rivers isn't a superstar, but he is much better than people even know. He's got quickness. He has a great center of gravity. He's nice and low to the ground. He's a strong little guy, and he'll...
Ross in San Diego 2 days prior to the season back in 1994. He had already gotten an apartment. He thought he made the last cut, and all of a sudden, he was cut from the team. And now he's playing for Bobby Ross again as a starter. Packer player is down on the field injured. We'll get more when we return.
Talking to Matt Hasselbeck, he's taking a more active role with his team, not only as the quarterback, but kind of as a coach as well, because he says he realizes he's the elder statesman, and that's the role he has to take.
Ledius Hunt has replaced Vaughn Booker at defensive end. 2nd down and 3. They go to Rivers again. Rivers trying to fight his way to the 15. He'll be shy by a couple. Bernardo Harris there. So it'll be 3rd down and short for the Lions. Under a minute remaining here in the 3rd quarter. Dick Stockton along with Matt Millen and Pam Oliver. Lions trying to win their first 2 games of a season for the first time since 1993 and make it 6 out of 7 against the Packers.
Beverly is checking in. They're going with their big backfield. Corey Schlesinger's come in. Brock Olivo's come in. You hear the official say 79. He has to report. It's an ineligible number, so he has to report that he's in the game.
Beverly started at center last week against Seattle. 3rd down and 1.
Brian Williams.
And it's Brian Williams, you're right, making the big stop. And that'll be the end of the quarter. And Detroit will have to kick from their end zone. That is the end of the 3rd quarter with the score. And Brett Favre getting ready to go back to work as John Jett will kick from the goal line. Desmond Howard back deep for the Packers, who should wind up with good field position. Oh, that goes over his head.
That's 2 points, baby.
Alan Aldrich, the long snapper, over the punter's head, and that'll be a safety. And that'll make the score 14-8, and the Packers will get the ball back.
Yeah, they'll get the free kick, and they'll be receiving. Whoa, costly mistake.
Well, because now a touchdown and extra point gives them a lead.
That just took off on him. Got the hands through too high, and it went over his head. Not too often that a punter has to go up there, but I remember in the Super Bowl versus Washington, Ray Guy made a phenomenal catch of an errant snap, much like Aldridge gave right there.
He was a phenomenal athlete.
He was. If there's a punter, and this is making my pitch for punters, if you ever make a punter go to the Hall of Fame, it has to be Ray Guy. There's none other close. Listen, that whole thing, to get back to the game, that safety was made possible by the great play of Brian Williams on that 3rd down. Williams doesn't make that play, that thing isn't going to develop.
Well, before that play, the Packers needed a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to tie. Now a touchdown and an extra point gives them the lead. And they get the ball back on the free kick. John Jett will do the kicking. Basil Mitchell along with Desmond Howard back at the 20 for the Packers.
Well, he has to kick it from the 20-yard line. You're going to get good field position. And it looks to me like Desmond Howard, 82, starting to get a little bit of that confidence. And if this young group can pull together, he was a major weapon and major reason why they won a couple years ago.
Here's the free kick, and it's Desmond Howard at the 31-yard line returning. Desmond Howard looking to break one, and it gets close to midfield as he is wrestled down by Robert Bailey.
Remember, this is the 3rd down, and this was the big play. Watch Brian Williams. He's going to come right off this side, and he beats Walter Rasby, and then is able to duck back underneath and make that tackle. Now, if he doesn't, Bernardo Harris has a shot, and it becomes a wrestling match between he and Corey Schlesinger. But Brian Williams played it perfectly, and in a gutsy call, I might say, on that 3rd down by Emmett Thomas, the defensive coordinator.
Yes, it was. But the Packers dodged the bullet on that fumble by Favre and get 2 points in the ball. This is their best starting field position of the game. They're 48. And the pitch to Dorsey Levens. Boyd chasing him, and Levens gets close to the 1st down and out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Well, next week it's Fox Season Premiere Sunday, starting with a shocking King of the Hill Emmy winner for Best Animated Series, and that's followed by a star-studded Simpsons adventure with Mel Gibson and the most epic Futurama ever. It's Fox Season Premiere Sunday, 1 week from tonight. Best epic
Futurama ever. Ever. As with great vigor.
Dorsey Levens has gone over the 100-yard mark. Can add to that total. Instead, he'll lose some of that total as Alan Aldridge penetrates and makes the tackle in a loss of about 2.
You know, they've run that play where they fake to Henderson inside and do the quick pitch to Dorsey Levens. Both times they've done it to Travis Kersky's side. What they're thinking is that they're not going to do it to the other side, to Robert Porcher, because Porcher has a little bit better lateral movement than does Kersky. Now, in this passing situation, seemingly, they're taking Porcher and putting him to the other side, down here on Verba.
Porcher has not been a factor today as Levens getting the handoff, starting and finding the opening, and they have another first down. Kersky makes the tackle, and Levens unquestionably over the 100-yard mark now. And there's a guy that the Packers didn't have for 9 games last year because of his injuries.
Well, and I mentioned this earlier, he does as good a job as any back I've seen of patience in the hole, and then he will push that crack. It's not a big hole. He just has the vision and pushes it, and he does a really good job of it.
Well, he may be their best receiver and obviously their best runner, perhaps their best all-round offensive performer. He can catch it as well. And
Dick, I think right now, if we're watching this Green Bay Packer offense, one thing has to be said.
First down.
As we look at the first down, is that Sherm Lewis, this is finally Sherm Lewis's offense. And what Sherm Lewis did was, you know, in the past, you never heard from Sherm. It would always be Mike Holmgren this, Mike Holmgren that. There's Sherm right there. But now the players are saying Sherm this, Sherm that. And more importantly, Sherman Lewis is saying, look, it's not about me. I'm turning it over to Brett Favre. I'm turning it over to Antonio Freeman. Those guys are the reasons, and I want them to step up.
And the Packers are stepping up in the ball control department in a big way today. First down on the 31. Good play fake by Brett Favre, and the pass through to Schrader. And Bill Schrader is tackled at about the 2 by J.B. Brown. And a gain of 30 yards, and the Cheeseheads on their feet as they sense the Packers perhaps taking command.
Dick, we are watching Bill Schrader grow up. We saw him from the start. We saw him make mistakes, and now we've seen him turn into a pretty decent receiver. Got good speed, catches the ball, make the difficult catch, and Favre now has confidence in him. And when he gains his confidence, then he'll make the next step.
He was a rebel big time under Mike Holmgren. Here is Dorsey Levens pushing the pile. No signal yet from the officials. Touchdown, Packers. They wanted to make sure.
Dick, all he had to do was turn and look at Brett Favre. He gave it a long time before that. Remember I said if they didn't do anything, they were encouraging him. They're just letting him hang around.
So Dorsey Levens scores the touchdown to tie the game at 14.
Now they're going to probably... They're going to kick it. They're going to kick
it. That gives them the lead.
Right.
Before, they would have needed 2 points before the safety to tie the game. So Ryan Longwell is on, and a big day for Dorsey Levens, who gained 78 yards last week. Longwell's kick is good, and the Packers leading for the first time since the first quarter when they took a 3-0 lead. It is now Packers 15, the Lions 14. Time remaining, 12:25 in the fourth. 15-14, the Packers lead. Dorsey Levens with a 2-yard touchdown run. The big play was the pass from Brett Favre to Bill Schrader to set it up. Levens 112 yards and a score. Terry Fair back to return kicks for the first time today. Had been just a punt returner. Fair did this last year, and there's a flag down, and Terry Fair in a foot race. And he's caught by Corey Bradford inside the 10, but the flag is down, I believe,
on the 35-yard line. And what an effort by Corey Bradford. Corey Bradford just got on his horse.
90 yards for Fair's return.
And it'll stand. That's going against the Packers.
And the Lions respond with authority on Terry Fair.
Offside, on a kicking team, number 85. The penalty decline. First down.
Well, here it is, and does a nice job. Watch the wedge right inside. They do a good job of staying together. And then Fair reads it, and he's in the clear. And I want you to watch Bradford, because this is pure speed. It's no angle. It's just flat out. He ran him down. It's a good job.
Last year, Terry Fair returned a kickoff 101 yards against the Packers. He returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns, led the NFL in that department, and his first kickoff return of the day is huge. First and goal for the Lions at the 8-yard line. Ron Rivers, cutting inside, gets to the 5. So the Lions striking back, looking to regain the lead. Well, a lot has happened in a short period of time. Brett Favre trying to bring the Packers in for a touchdown, fumbled, lost the ball, and then a snap over the head of John Jett for a safety, and then Dorsey Levens, after the free kick on a Packer drive, went in for the touchdown. The extra point put Green Bay in front by a point, and now Fair with his 91-yard kickoff return. Second and goal at the 5. And Rivers again following Schlesinger, and Ron Rivers gets down to about the 2.
That was Charlie Batch. He audibled at the line of scrimmage to take it over there. Now this is more Bobby Ross's style. Okay, this is, remember in the past you'd take Barry Sanders out, you'd make the change. Not right now. They're keeping Rivers and Schlesinger in.
Out of the second half, it'll be 3rd and goal at the 1, and you heard the referee announce that Eric Beverly, number 79, is reporting as a 3rd tight end.
It's a good spot for a play-action pass to David Sloan.
Sloan, the move man, and the fake handoff, and here comes Charlie Batch, and he dives. Touchdown. Great fake by Batch.
What he wanted, Dick, was play action to Sloan. But it was well covered. And then there was no one out in the flat. So Batch just used his feet. No defender. So they're expecting everybody to bite inside. They run right at the coverage of Sloan. But a nice job of defending it outside by Tyrone Williams. And because no one's there, he just dives in for the score.
And they're going to go for the 2-point conversion, leading 20-15. Last year, the Lions 0 for 3 in 2-point conversions. Once again, Eric Beverly, who was the center last week against Seattle, is reported as a tight end, number 79.
This time they bring Stabline and Morton in, so they're going to spread it out a little bit more. And Ron Rivers is also in the game. Batch sees it. There's no one out there. He just has to beat McKenzie to the corner. He's going to make sure also that he has to beat George Kuntz, 53.
So Charlie Batch throwing for 2 touchdowns and running for 1. Ooh. 2-point conversion. Batch not going to get it. And it's thwarted. Bernardo Harris and Brian Williams, George Kuntz, all the linebackers really did not give Batch a chance. And so the score remains Lions 20, Packers 15. So here is the 2-point conversion attempt. Batch looking to throw. He couldn't. George Kuntz got in there first. And Brian Williams put the exclamation point on. Lions leading 20-15 after scoring the touchdown, not getting the 2-point conversion. And it was all set up by Terry Fair's 91-yard kickoff return. Plenty of time remaining. Just under 11 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. Desmond Howard back to return, and Jason Hansen will kick off.
We've had back-to-backs before.
Yes, we have last year with Roel Preston of the Packers. This one is deep into the end zone and down by Basil Mitchell. And this crowd of 80,000, a capacity crowd, being treated to a terrific battle between these longtime rivals.
I want you to watch Corey Schlesinger. He becomes the hot receiver. Schlesinger is the man, and as Kuntz comes, he becomes the hot player right here. He becomes the hot man. But because the coverage was jumped right away, he had to pull it down. There was nowhere to go, and then Kuntz was the man providing the pressure. He actually missed. and it was taken by Brian Williams, who comes up with another big play.
As he did last week, many of them. Joe Andruzzi, number 70, who's been injured, playing today in for Mike Walls, the left guard. First down from the 20, Dorsey Levens, who has gained 112 yards and has scored a touchdown, picks up about 3.
Dick, this is nice patience by the Packers. Not panicking, got 10.5 minutes. You just want to stick with that running game. Dorsey Levens got himself, 115 yards there. He's running well. The offensive line has been doing a good job protecting Favre. So they're just going to remain patient. And they've been doing a good job inside. I believe they're winning the battle versus those inside 3 of Jones and Luther Ellis.
2nd and 7. Here's Levens being chased by Porcher. And he'll get the first down, racing down the sideline for a lot more. And running full steam into Ron Rice into Detroit territory. And this has been the Dorsey-Levens game right at this point. That was a pickup of 32.
That's a nice call again. Remember, the first 2 times we pointed this out. They go fake inside, quick pitch. The first 2 times they did it to Travis Kershke. The 3rd time, they did it to Robert Porcher. It was a nice job. What you don't see there was a nice block on the outside by the receiver that enabled Levens to get to the ball. And then he finishes that play by driving his shoulder into Rice.
Levens has gained 147 of the 148 the Packers have in rushing yardage.
Well, this will be interesting because
Porcher's
start. Well, Porcher's pointed to tight end. Tight end can move. False start. Not going to happen.
Number 72 in the offense.
There you go.
5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
That's Earl Dotson, the right offensive tackle, right here. Remember, Thomason, once he's set and they audible, he can move. Earl Dotson looked down. I didn't see it. See, he's pointing all the way back inside to Thomason, but he can reset.
First down and 15. Favre will put it up, and he's looking for Bill Schrader, and Schrader, defended by J.B. Brown, and that hung for an eternity up in the air. That one just floated, and Schrader couldn't make the grab. Incomplete.
Favre gave Schrader a shot. J.B. Brown has the coverage. Schrader didn't run away from him. J.B. Brown's right on top of him. So he throws the ball up high and lets the jostling happen. That's a ball that, in time, Schrader got away with one there, too. You see that little bully game?
But, with both the receiver and the defender looking at the ball, that would not be a pass interference call, or if they were both looking away. So Brown stayed with Schrader, who lines up on the right, 2nd and 15 at midfield, and here is that man Levens again. He's in trouble. Travis Kershke, the first to get him, and he had some company. Loss of 4 yards, and the Packers going in reverse. They have lost 9 yards since they got into Lion territory, and that'll bring up 3rd and a lot.
It's good pursuit by that Larry Peccatello coached defense. You're looking at Sherm Lewis. Remember, there's Larry Peccatello. He and Emmett Thomas, the defensive coordinator for the Packers, coached together, and I had them in Washington, and they're both running similar schemes.
3rd and 19. Favre has a lot of time, and he drills this pass, and it is ruled incomplete, intended for Corey Bradford, and that'll bring up 4th down. So the Lions get the cheers from their capacity crowd. They have held the Packers. They lead by 5 points, and will get the ball back with 8:05 remaining here in the 4th. So they withstood the big run by Dorsey Levens. It was a 32-yard run by Levens, and then the Lions, and the penalty helped force the Packers to kick. Louis Aguiar punting, and Terry Fair back deep. Fair at the 15. Hit and down. Flag goes down, and now another one as well. Jim Nelson, who has been the best special teams performer, according to Ray Rhodes, made the tackle on Fair.
I wonder if McGarrahan is not going to not get the penalty, but have that penalty on him, have that drawn on the guy who's trying to block him. because J.B. Brown was working on McGarrahan, and McGarrahan was able to turn the corner.
Penalty against the Lions.
Pushing the back, McGarrahan drew it. Nice tackle there by Nelson.
Exactly what happened. McGarrahan, you pointed that out. We'll be back. Brett Favre has playing with the injured hand, has the Packers within range, but trailing here, and the Lions coming out on their own 8-yard line. Barrett Brooks is in at right tackle for the Lions, replacing Juan Roque. First down on the 8. Penalty marker down. Could be a free play for Charlie Batch. And he'll run it out and get about 9 yards and go head first right into Brian Williams.
And that's legit by Brian Williams if you're sitting at home. Remember, Charlie Batch went head first. One of the problems they had last year as a rookie with him. He never really slid feet first. He was trying to always go head first. And when he does that, that's fair game.
He'll be offsides against the Packers.
2 guys jumped in there. One of them was Cletus Hunt. How do I say that first? Cletus.
But it doesn't, they don't spell it the way you say it. They're going to give the option here as to whether you decline the penalty.
Yeah, you take the 2nd and 1 instead of 1st and 5.
That's what they'll do.
Offside. Defense. Number 97. The penalty is declined.
Let's go down to Pam Oliver right now. Pam?
All right, Dick, I got a chance to talk to Lions offensive lineman Tony Simple about his dislocated elbow. He said it's separated about 90 degrees at this point. They're going to do some tests first thing tomorrow, and if there's a tear, he could be out for up to 5 weeks. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. 2nd down and 1 for the Lions on the 17. The handoff to the up man, Schlesinger, who bobbled it and then held onto it and gets the Lions first down. A close call.
Yeah, but see, he crossed our first down mark, and that's all that matters. Forget the change. It's our yellow line that matters.
You cross that yellow line one more time.
That's right. Go ahead. Cross that line. Now you're on my side.
Winding down to 7 minutes remaining.
Detroit right here would just like to eat up the clock. They fully remember what Favre did last week, and they don't want to give him that chance. They'd like to get at least 3 out of this if they can.
Schlesinger for a couple of yards. Well, the no-name backfield, now that Barry Sanders is retired, did a big job last week, gaining 167 yards against Seattle. They haven't been anywhere near as productive this week so far against the Green Bay Packers with Rivers, Schlesinger, and Greg Hill. Here's what the 3 have done. 46 yards on 19 carries. But at this point, the Lions lead in the game 20-15 with 6.5 to play.
And Charlie Batch is doing a nice job of using up all of that clock.
2nd down and 8. Play fake. Pressure on Batch and the pass to Johnny Morton. He got it and still going. Johnny Morton into Packer territory. Flag down. And Morton gets to the 34. Penalty marker down. Tyrone Williams missed the tackle initially. That's a 45-yard gain pending the ruling by the officials. 2nd big play of the day by Johnny Morton. Unsportsmanlike conduct against the Lions. Explaining it to Bobby Ross, who's furious.
It's 46 yards and a big play, something they needed. And it's interesting. You always can tell as you're watching Bobby Ross lose his mind over there.
During the play, the official ran into the coach in the white area out of bounds.
Oh, that's
an unsportsmanlike conduct. The penalty will be enforced 15 yards for the deceiving spot.
Oh.
First down.
Oh, that's, you know what?
Official ran into a coach.
See, show the sidelines. There's a big white sideline. The big wide line. And in that line, during a play, you must stay back. Right here, see this? See, you have to stay back because the official has to run in there. Now, in order for it to get to this point, when he calls a penalty, he would have already warned them
2, maybe 3 times. Specifically once. You have to be warned at least once. But they're pretty forgiving down there. And I mean, I've run into a lot of guys. They say, stay back. They never call a flag unless it gets beyond a couple of warnings.
45 yards and then 15 the other way. The handoff to Ron Rivers, spinning his way to the 42-yard line where Tyrone Williams makes the tackle. A gain of 7 yards. 5.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. The Lions leading the Packers 20-15 with under 5.5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. The Lions, after trailing 15-14, scored on a Charlie Batch 1-yard run after a brilliant kickoff return by Terry Fair. Now the Lions trying to use the clock and doing it effectively with Ron Rivers, who gets the first down inside the 30-yard line. A gain of 13. Bring you up to date on this game as the Lions try to beat the Packers for the 6th time in 7 starts. Green Bay has run brilliantly thanks to Dorsey Levens, who has 143 yards, but second-year quarterback Charlie Batch, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions today. And the Packers playing with Brett Favre with an injured hand, and right now the Lions have not missed Barry Sanders, who is retired. Favre has done a terrific job with the injured hand today. Here is Corey Schlesinger. Good hard run, loose ball, and it is recovered by the Lions. And it's Mike Compton, the center, who is right on top. Bringing up to date, Favre fumbled as the Packers were going in for a score. And then Levens with a touchdown. And then a brilliant kickoff return by Terry Fair of 91 yards to set up the Green Bay or the Detroit go-ahead touchdown. Charlie Batch got the score, diving into the end zone. The 2-point conversion failed, and that's where we are, 20-15. Second down and 8 on the 27 of the Packers. Here is Rivers, nowhere, and he is down at the 30 by Gilbert Brown. Well, Brett Favre went in, took the bandage off. Tell me what your thoughts are about the fact that he has that injured hand, and he said it was painful coming into today's game.
Yeah, remember at the start of the game, Brett Favre said he didn't know how it would be. He told our Pam Oliver, we'll wait and see. And what we saw was a tentative Favre at first, not only from him, but also the coaching staff. And then as the game wore on, that hand started to feel better. He got rid of the bandage, and now he's throwing like the Brett Favre we know. It's a big third down right here for the Green Bay Packers and also the Detroit Lions.
9th play of the drive. Third down and 10, and Batch to put it in the air, and he's going for Crowell, and Crowell has it knocked away by the rookie, Mike McKenzie, who makes an outstanding play.
Big play, and now they're going to punt and try to kick him in. Remember I told you about McKenzie, he's a battler. He'll stay right in there. Nice position, staying to the inside. He'll run with him, look when the other guy looks. See, there it looked like there was more bumping it. That's the jostling we're talking about that the officials are going to let go.
They're both playing the ball.
Oh, now they're gonna kick it, and this should be about a 47-yarder. 48-yarder.
Jason Hansen trying for the field goal. It would give the Lions an 8-point lead and force Green Bay to get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to tie. 48-yarder with John Jett holding.
Gone.
And Jett's kick, it's good. Not at all thinking of Barry with the team winning the first game and leading the Packers here.
Yeah, one thing that bothers me in that whole sequence was that we never heard anything from Barry. I think, Barry, because right now I think he's getting beat up, and it shouldn't be. I mean, he's a great player.
No question.
One of the few guys who I would pay to watch, and I just love watching that guy.
But we should hear from him. Jason Hansen kicking off into the end zone. Desmond Howard will down it there with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Well, comebacks are a part of the fiber of what Brett Favre are all about. Nothing more dramatic and emotional than last week against the Oakland Raiders. Corey Bradford making this catch and then the touchdown score.
And that's when his hand, he didn't have any idea what was going on with the hand. In fact, he didn't think he could even play. And I think this week is a different week. See the pain that he was in. There's less pain, and there's more time and more timeouts.
That's why I say at 2:39, there's a lot of time for a lot of things to happen in this game.
And remember, the Packers have lost 5 of their last 6 here at the Silverdome. First down, Packers on the 20. Dorsey Levens having a monster of a game. And Levens picks up about 6 yards. Stephen Boyd on the tackle.
Good patience. A lot of nice patience there by Ray Rhodes' coaching staff. Ray Rhodes feels like he's been reborn coming here.
You mentioned Sherman Lewis. He was the offensive coordinator under Mike Holmgren, but really not. Holmgren called the plays. Now Sherman Lewis is doing it. 2nd and 3. Favre's pass is incomplete. It was intended for Bradford and J.B. Brown in there. Earlier, Brian Westbrook went out with a hamstring pull for the Lions, one of their starting cornerbacks.
Lions are playing in a nickel right here. Andre Collins is in. That's a Larry Peccatello hand pick. They brought Andre Collins in, and because he can run, he's a good pass defender, and that's where he is right now.
And Westbrook is leading the cheers. This should be the last play before the 2-minute warning. 3rd and 3. Big play for the Packers, and the pass is caught by Dorsey Levens, and Levens gets the first down close to midfield. Another big play by Favre and Levens to the tune of 22 yards, and the 2-minute warning with 1:53 on the clock.
That took some chutzpah, and he had it. Other coverage. He still has coverage on Dorsey Levens. Right there, he's going, oh, no! That is a tough task to do. You walk up in the line of scrimmage, try to draw the block, yet still have your coverage outside.
Packers on their 49. Dorsey Levens gets a couple of yards into Detroit territory. Levens now has rushed for 153 yards today. The Packers have all 3 of their timeouts remaining. There have been 5 turnovers in the game, and only 1 has resulted in a score. That is on a Lion turnover. 2nd and 7. Brett Favre dumps it off again to Dorsey Levens up the middle, and Levens battles his way to the 35 for a Green Bay first down and an immediate Packer timeout.
Favre is very comfortable in these situations.
Dorsey Levens, after 78 yards last week against the Seattle Seahawks, with a huge game today.
Well, he's done it in a variety of ways. He's carried the ball tough inside. He's been able to use his speed outside. He's caught the ball in critical situations. And he is the main cog of this offense. I mean, you can see today 206 total yards. But bigger than that, they rely on him. And it's different when you have a guy come through and he surprises you, as opposed to a guy like Dorsey Levens, who they know.
Favre has not thrown a touchdown pass today, has thrown 1 interception, has a first down on the Lion 35. Favre up the middle, and he's trying to go to Antonio Freeman. Freeman was open, and it was not a good pass by Brett.
Did a good job by the offensive line today of not. Favre really hasn't been. He's been sacked 1 time, I believe. He's had a couple of times they've gotten after him, but I'd like to point out Ross Verba is playing this whole game, and he's got the flu, and there's no way he should even be out there. In fact, they told me prior to the game they didn't think he was going to make it through the first quarter, and here we are coming right down to the end.
2nd and 10. Again, Favre looking to throw up the middle, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Antonio Freeman again, and the Lions down there with good coverage. Luther Ellis putting the pressure on Brett Favre.
I expected more of this today from Luther Ellis. When Luther Ellis gets his motor going, he's pretty good. He came right around Marco Rivera and forced that throw. Where he's really good is when he starts bull rushing, and he can just push a pocket. There aren't very many good bull rushers in this league, and he's one of them.
He got a 6-year extension this week, so he's here to stay. On 3rd down and 10, Favre can't find a receiver, and then he does. He finds Bradford, and he is tackled well short of the first down by about 3 or 4 yards. Stephen Boyd, the tackle, actually only a couple, and a 4th down coming up. And the Packers will call their second timeout, and Stephen Boyd slowly getting up. 4th down and 2. It's all right here for the Packers. And Brett Favre's pass knocked away by Robert Bailey, and the Lions take over on down.
That's a big play by Robert Bailey, who's made a couple of big plays here today for the Detroit Lions.
He was forced to come in when Westbrook came out. He is normally the nickel back, and he has made some big plays, as you pointed out, but none bigger than that defensive play on 4th down.
That's the game right there. With 2 timeouts, you'll spend them both, and then they'll just let it run down.
Antonio Freeman, the intended receiver, and the Detroit Lions will take over on downs with 1 minute and 2 seconds remaining.
And Dick, with a win here, they go 2-0, which they haven't done in a long time.
6 years.
And they're looking at a team in the Kansas City Chiefs next week that is a team that they can beat.
Bobby Ross has this team together. He has changed somewhat in his makeup, but it is a smash-mouth team as Ron Rivers carries the ball, and under 1 minute remaining, Rivers gets inside the 30-yard line, and the Packers still had 2 timeouts remaining, and they'll use one of them right here.
Better with confidence.
And the handoff is to Ron Rivers, and it certainly makes, with the flag down, the leverage of Barry Sanders' bid to get back slimmer and slimmer. 52 seconds remaining in the 4th. It'll be 2nd down and 1. Matt, you mentioned the game against Kansas City next week, and then the Lions are off, giving Herman Moore a chance to get back into action. And games against San Diego, Minnesota, and at Carolina. They got Minnesota at home. Those are all winnable games.
All winnable games.
Now the officials talking about adjusting the Packer timeout. They've been doing that for the last 10 minutes, it appears.
You know, if there's a penalty within 2 minutes,
right,
they're supposed to run off some time of the clock.
10 seconds, I believe. 10 seconds should be run off.
They're trying to straighten it out right now.
You have 1 timeout remaining.
Well, there was some question as to whether the Packers had 2 and the Lions had 1.
Packers with the big one on the second half of our Fox doubleheader next week. Vikings and Packers, and that will be at Lambeau Field. And after the bye week, Tampa Bay comes in. And then 2 games at Denver and San Diego. So Green Bay's immediate schedule seems to be tougher than the Detroit Lions. And Green Bay will be 1-1 after this game.
And with the Minnesota Vikings looking at a loss from the Oakland Raiders, who would have ever believed that after week 2, the Detroit Lions would be in first place?
Without Barry and Herman, really. Ron Rivers on the carry, and now the technical producer, Dean Walker, and his crew did a terrific job today. Hand off to Ron Rivers.
I'd just take a knee. There's no use trying to run for it. Who cares? Just going to let it run down. You're going to turn into 4th down. Just let the clock run out.
Charlie Batch with 2 touchdown passes to Johnny Morton for 45 yards and David Sloan for 74 yards. The Lions led 14-3, and then the Packers came back to take a 15-14 lead before Batch went over from 1 yard out. Hansen added a field goal.
Hey, game's over. I don't know why they even... I wouldn't have risked having a fumble.